on this episode of Inside KU. A new program aims to recruit the best and brightest graduate students. Foundation professors raise the bar when it comes to teaching. And a KU startup looks to make cancer treatments more effective. Welcome to Inside KU. I'm Jeannie Hodes. A new fellowship program aims to boost KU's image as a flagship research university. Each year, 12 students will now receive free tuition as well as a $25,000 stipend to do their doctoral research here. It's all part of an effort to recruit and support the next generation of outstanding scholars.
So that's called the yellow monkey flower, its common name. Its Latin name is Mimulus guttatus. And it's the subject of quite a bit of controversy in that it inhabits many different ecological niches along the western coast of the United States.
It's also the subject of Keely Brown's PhD research at KU. She's part of the very first group of students to receive the Chancellor's Doctoral Fellowship.
There are three main things that drive my research in a future direction, and those are feeding a growing world population, fueling a growing world population, and keeping that population healthy. Flowering plants in general are interesting in an agricultural context because things that cause variation in flower size or flower reproductive viability in nature often have an influence on how we understand how our crops might change with how our planet's changing. We do something that makes the plant better for us to grow, and it responds sometimes unpredictably. And so figuring out on a genetic basis why variation happens makes us more able to predict the types of variation we might see when we mess with a plant.
Max Murphy also received a fellowship and is studying bioengineering. Inspired by the Boston Marathon bombings, he now focuses on research to help the brain recover from traumatic injury or stroke.
Obviously, I was struck by how horrible of a tragedy it was, but it really came close to home because my wife is a marathon runner. The people at the bioengineering program at KU referred me to talk to Dr. Nudo, since he's a highly regarded expert in this field. And I went and had a meeting with him where he explained some of the work in their lab where they had recently restored functional movement to a brain-damaged rat by putting a chip with microelectrodes in its brain, essentially, and that circumvented the problem. So I thought that was incredible, and I was immediately very fascinated and wanted to work with him. I'll specifically be working on brain injuries, so that could be applicable to people with stroke, people with any kind of traumatic brain injury, maybe they got in a car wreck. But we're also doing work in our lab on the spinal cord, and so trying to use the same kind of techniques that I'm using in the brain to link an area of the brain to the spinal cord so that we can overcome anyone who's been paralyzed, they've lost their limbs. So there's going to be a broad application of what we're doing here.
Unlike other doctoral students, fellowship winners do not have a teaching or research assistant requirement, freeing up more time to focus on their own work.
There's definitely higher expectations because you know that you don't have to work as a TA, and so you have more time for research. And you also know that your professors know that, so you really want to step up to the plate and deliver.
It's definitely been a driving force in trying to prove that there's a reason I'm here, that there's a reason that they gave me the fellowship.
Both students agree the new program is a great way to attract top talent and invest in very promising future results.
It benefits not only the research that we're doing here, but on a day-to-day basis, interacting with peers that are high quality helps in learning things in general.
One of the things that struck me was that KU fosters an environment of supporting its graduate students, whether it's monetarily or through great advising or mentorship or the class structure. It gives graduate students every opportunity that they need to fulfill their potential. I'd like to continue to be a research scientist. That's definitely what I'm aiming for, but hopefully making the world a better place.
Coming up, KU's Dean of Graduate Studies explains more ways the university supports students working toward advanced degrees. Welcome back to Inside KU. Before the break, we told you about a new program aimed at recruiting top PhD students to the University of Kansas. But that's only part of the university's effort to enhance doctoral education. I'm here with Michael Roberts, who's the Dean of Graduate Studies at KU. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me.
First of all, what does KU offer when it comes to a doctoral education?
The University of Kansas is a comprehensive research university, so we offer a range of programs at the doctoral level, attending to a variety of issues that are important to society and to Kansas. So we have programs ranging from anthropology to and archaeology to teaching Urdu, to journalism, to geology. We have a range of programs that are of interest to students and are important to the economy and education of the state.
What has KU done in recent years to enhance doctoral education?
The Office of Graduate Studies is helping fulfill bold aspirations. Goal number 2 is elevating doctoral education. And so that has driven our interest in improving the funding for graduate students, assisting and supporting their research and their professional development activities. We are doing such things as improving the database on which we can make informed decision making. We're also using a tool such as Prospect, which helps improve our recruitment efforts to bring the best and the brightest to KU.
Does the Chancellor's Doctoral Fellowship fit into all this?
Certainly, the Chancellor's Fellowship is going to be a remarkable recruitment tool for our graduate programs because it provides funding for the students and support while they're here, and it makes KU stand out among all the other graduate programs that might be offered in a particular discipline. But we need graduate fellowships in all the disciplines, much more than we currently have, in order to allow graduate students to devote fully to their education and their research that they need to do.
How excited are you about this first class of students?
They're truly an amazing group, and having lunch with them and hearing what brought them to KU, hearing what they're excited about given the offerings in the programs, such as getting to work with faculty mentors or having opportunities that they might not have any other place, while also being funded adequately to pursue their education and their training, doing their research and taking classes.
How do all of these enhancements fit into the mission of a research university?
The University of Kansas has a commitment to its 3-part mission, which is teaching, research, and service. And it's not just a sign that we put at the edge of campus. We have a serious commitment to it. We try to inculcate that in our graduate students so that they are forming the keystone, the bridge that supports everything else at this university of teaching and research, and finding a place at the middle where we connect those together. And our graduate students are important to that mission. In fact, they are essential to that mission.
So what would you say to a student considering an advanced degree? Why is it worth it?
I think the students need to look into what we offer here on campus and look at the kinds of research and activities that we're doing here, as well as find out what people are doing after they leave the University of Kansas with a doctoral degree. But we're doing exciting things here, and that is important for students to engage in when they get here and really want to do. For students to want to come to KU to join in with the wide array of activities that we have here, both in research and in the classroom, they will find a place at KU.
Well, it sounds to me like you have a lot of the elements you need for a successful graduate program. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
For more information about advanced degrees at KU, go to graduate.ku.edu. Coming up next, meet one of KU's newest and brightest recruits to campus, who's not a student. Along with attracting top students, KU also wants the best of the best when it comes to faculty. The new KU Foundation Professor Initiative does just that. Here's a closer look at the university's newest foundation professor and his renowned work in paleontology.
When I was a young child, My dad was in graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill. My bedtime stories would include pictures out of college textbooks of dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals. And when I found out that there were extinct animals, I was completely captivated. I think it's a basic human aspect of curiosity, of wanting to know how the world and life on this world have gotten to be the way that they are today. And paleontology is, I think, a great way to get at that. That's a nice fossil, a jaw with a couple of teeth in it. I've always had the idea that paleontology is a discipline that's driven by discovery. And the only way that you can make discoveries is by going to parts of the world that have largely been ignored by scientists and finding new discoveries out there. So that's one of the reasons that I spend so much time in places like Libya, Turkey, China, Myanmar, Kazakhstan, Cambodia, Egypt, Tunisia, Kenya, being out in the middle of nowhere and making a discovery right there and knowing that I'm seeing something no one has ever seen before. There's nothing better than that. It's fabulous. A big question that I've always been intrigued with: how, when, where, and perhaps even why did anthropoids evolve? Anthropoids, of course, being monkeys, apes, and humans. So I got started with this back in the early 90s working in China, and we found this fossil Eosimius there. Eos is Greek for dawn, and simius is Latin for monkey, so it literally means dawn monkey. It was living in Asia and not in Africa, where everybody thought the earliest anthropoids should be at that time. It was living at the wrong time. It was about 45 million years old instead of maybe 30 million years old. In fact, it's the most primitive and oldest fossil anthropoid that we have seen so far in the fossil record. And it had the wrong anatomy. It was small. If we had a whole one alive, it could easily fit in the palm of my hand. And most people thought that in order to become an anthropoid, you've got to get big. So Eosimius was a completely counterintuitive fossil. It's the kind of fossil that every paleontologist dreams of finding, and a fossil that has the impact in changing the way people think about evolution. It's taken 10, 15 years to get the rest of the scientific community to agree, but now that's happened too. I couldn't be prouder, I think, of any child than I am of Eosimius. It's an amazing specimen. The foundation professor position here at KU is, I think, in many ways unique. The goals as being a liaison between different academic units within the university is something that I'm really attracted to. These little Gondwanan microplates that were previously associated with Africa were drifting northward, and they eventually collided with Turkey. Having colleagues both in paleontology and in allied disciplines, evolutionary biology and geology, who are leaders in their own right. So KU is blessed to have one of the best ecology and evolutionary biology programs in the country. As a research scientist, I'm thrilled to be in an environment like KU where scholarship, mentoring, and basic research are the bread and butter of what the institution is all about, and always will be. I'm so thankful to be here in Lawrence and at the University of Kansas. It's a great opportunity for me.
Coming up next, a KU faculty startup company is working to dramatically improve cancer treatment. Supporting research and recruiting talent also means more chances to turn innovative work into a reality. In 2010, a group of KU faculty created a startup company called Hylafarm. That company is now taking big steps toward making cancer treatment safer and more effective.
Hylafarm is a cross-campus collaboration between KU Medicine and KU proper in Lawrence, particularly the School of Pharmacy.
What excited me the most about coming to KU is the fact that so many of the faculty in pharmaceutical chemistry and in departments even in engineering have spun out companies. There's an initial page that's a response to the first critique, and they've translated technology from the lab bench out into the real world.
Chemotherapy is actually a very old-fashioned drug, the first one we started on, called cisplatin. And it's been around for decades. It's very well understood. But the problems with cisplatin are that it works for cancers, but it's toxic. It can injure the kidneys, it can injure the nerves, it can injure other organs. Laird Forrest is a scientist, but also has a clinical appointment in a clinical department. He had this really neat project where he had essentially taken old-fashioned poison chemotherapy and wrapped it in hyaluronan. Everyone watching this is already full of hyaluronan. It's what makes our skin squishy. The difficulty is trying to get that benefit of knocking down the cancer while minimizing the toxic side effects. Most kinds of solid cancers actually stick to hyaluronan. They do it with a receptor called CD44. The advantage of delivering a huge dose to the cancer is you can get it where you want it. Our toxicology work so far shows that it's significantly safer on a tumor dose level compared to regular chemotherapy.
An important thing to realize about nano drug delivery is there's really not any products approved. So that means that we're breaking new ground.
We've been very fortunate to pair up with a veterinary oncology group who treats people's pet dogs with cancer. And we've had 6 dogs that were enrolled in the trial and received our formulation. And of those 6 dogs, 2 of them actually seem to have had what's called a durable complete response. That means the cancer's gone clinically, there's no evidence of it anymore, and it stayed gone. In the world of cancer treatments, having 2 out of 6 show a complete response to a single therapy is very, very unusual, very noteworthy.
Really cool, to put it in not so technical language.
I feel like this is really the most important project I've ever been involved in. And it's been tremendously gratifying to be able to play a role in the fight against cancer. And of course, we're very excited about trying to bring this forward into human patients and then take it as far as it can be taken.
It's really exciting to be involved in taking something I developed to the next stage. And it's incredibly exciting to work on it too, because I know I could help people with it. It's too easy in academia to just get caught up in trying to publish the next paper or get the next grant, and you forget that you're actually trying to help people ultimately.
When it comes to students and faculty, KU's focus on excellence is clear, which builds a stronger foundation for even more success in the future. I'm Jeannie Hodis, and I hope you've enjoyed this journey inside KU.